Welcome everyone to this CELPIP Listening Part 6 Viewpoints Analysis. Now I'm just here in the Listening Part 6 section of the CELPIP library. And before we get started, I do want to remind you that Listening Part 6 focuses more on CLB 7 or higher. What does that mean? Well, it means that if you need to get CLB 7, 8, or 9 or higher, then you need to do well in this part. You need to score the most points in this part. And that's because only by doing well in this part can you get a higher score, okay? And also, it means that this part is more difficult. And it is a long lecture for about 3 minutes. And so the language you will hear will be more difficult and the questions will be more difficult. And so this part should be for students that are higher levels and they have more experience in English. So if you need to get CLB 4, 5, or 6, this part could be more difficult for you. And so also, it's not so important to do well in this part for CLB 4, 5, or 6. You need to focus more on parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those parts will be easier for lower levels, and you can get more points than in part 6, okay? So then, higher levels, you need to try to practice this level more so you can get higher grades, okay? Now, also, I want to remind you about this Listening Part 6 Viewpoints, Tips, and Strategies video. This video will give you more tips and strategies on how you can listen effectively, how you can answer the questions, what you should listen for, and what you should be doing while you listen. And it'll be some of the tips and strategies that I will be using in this lesson sample, okay? So if you want to watch that video, then I'm going to be leaving a link in the description box to that video. Okay, great. Now let's get to today's lesson sample. Okay, energy production. Very interesting. Okay, so here we are in the front page of this lesson sample, and I want to let you know that this lesson sample has 6 sections, okay? The first one is this video analysis that you are watching, okay? The second is vocabulary building. Now, vocabulary building is a great exercise to improve your vocabulary. For part 6, we're going to be listening to some words that are higher level, language that is higher level. So this vocabulary building exercise will help you improve in that. We have some words, their basic meanings, some synonyms, some antonyms. And then we have this great exercise where you need to complete the sentence using one of those words. We need to manufacture more products to reduce pollution. Well, I think we need to biodegradable products. Yes, biodegradable, right? We need to manufacture more biodegradable products to reduce pollution. I think that's what it is. So then you see, you do them all, you go forward, and then you submit. And look, I got it correct. I got 1, but I need to get 60%. So then, everyone, afterwards, you can check your answer. You see my answer is correct over here. Review your answer. It's a really great vocabulary building exercise, okay? And then we have over here comprehension building. Comprehension building is a really good way for you to practice your listening and understanding and comprehending. You listen to this sentence.
Fracking is controversial because of the environmental hazards.
I heard fracking is controversial because of the environmental hazards. So then I need to read the sentences. Fracking is controversial because of the risk of harm to the environment. Due to the environmental hazards, fracking is controversial. So is A, B, neither A or B, or both A and B? Which one is similar to the sentence we heard? What a really good exercise. This exercise will really help you improve your listening comprehension, okay? All right, and then we have some following dialogue. Now, following dialogue lets you listen to the conversation. It's going to be the conversation that we're going to practice. And while you listen, you put in a word. What word did you hear? Okay, let's see here.
Listening to viewpoints.
Fracking, technically referred to as hydraulic fracturing.
Technically referred. Technically referred. Yeah. So that's the word that I heard. Then we follow along and we complete everything. And then we check. I got it correct, but I need 70% or hopefully 100%. So really great exercise for you to build your following dialogue skills. Okay, very great, everyone. And then we have the test practice 1, which we're going to do right now. We're going to analyze that. And then we have test practice 2, which is version 2 of this listening. And that will be for you to practice the listening yourself. Very great exercise to review. All right, very good, everyone. So now let's get started with today's analysis. Okay, so then, everyone, now here we are, and I'll tell you that it's the same format as the real exam. First, you get the listening, okay? And then after that, you have your questions. You have your 6 questions, okay? And you'll have 4 minutes to complete the 6 questions, okay? And it's also multiple choice, of course, okay? So we have the same format. So then, everyone, I do want to, before we start, I do want to give you just a few tips that you should remember for part 6. The first one, very important, is for you to understand what is the main topic about. This is very important. We need to gather from the beginning what is the topic and why is it controversial or why is it an issue. Okay, very important. And then the second thing is we need to listen for different viewpoints about the issue or the topic. You'll get 2 or 3 different views, or you'll get different views or opinions about that topic. And we definitely need to understand those different views, okay? Because the questions, they will be about the different views, okay? So it's very important to understand the topic and the different views about the topic. How are they the same, those views? Usually some agree, some disagree. Some are for, some are against. Some pros, some cons. We need to listen for those, okay? And then the last point that I should make sure that you should know for this part is that we should try and keep some notes, okay? Or I strongly suggest notes because it's a lot of information and you should try to just keep track of the different viewpoints. Maybe one, you can write agree, and make sure, everyone, that we write few notes. We don't want to write full sentences. We want to keep on listening. One good way to keep on listening for myself is just to repeat information. Just repeat in your mind. It's very, very effective for recalling information. If you repeat, you can recall. But as well, I find that notes and repeating work even more effectively. Okay? So keep those tips in mind. Okay, and also about the questions. About the questions, everyone, we need to understand clearly the question and what it's trying to, what part is testing. Okay, usually the questions will follow in order to the listening part. So they will be the first part, the second part, the third part, and so on. Okay, so it's very important to try to remember something about each part of the listening. Okay, and now for the answers, very important for the answers. Students make the most mistakes by choosing words instead of ideas. Remember that this is not a word test, it's a listening test. So they are testing ideas or recalling ideas, not words. Now, it's true that some words may be in the answers, but most of the time we hear all the words. So sometimes students, just because we hear resources, we choose resources. We hear transportation, so we choose transportation. Chemicals, so we choose chemicals. Footprint, we choose that. So we should not be choosing answers because of words. Okay, very important. We should try to associate words. This means not just resources, but how about consumes more resources? Connect consumes with resources. Connect the two, and that will help you choose the answer better. Okay, not just because of words. Very important. All right. And also about time, we have 4 minutes for 6 questions. So that is about 40 seconds per question. Okay. So you have to keep that in mind. Some question answers are longer than other ones, but I would definitely try to do it in order because you listen to the lecture and then you answer the questions in order according to the lecture. So if you're doing some question number 5 and then you go back to number 1, you might have already forgotten that information. So try to answer the questions in order and give yourself about 40 seconds per question. Okay? And you will be able to watch the time. So in here, I've taken the time out, but in the real exam, you will have a time cue there. Okay? Very good. So now let's get started. So then, everyone, I want to remind you that we are going to be doing this listening together. So this means that I'm going to be giving you a chance to listen to this lecture, and then I'm going to give you a chance to answer the questions. I'm going to give you 40 seconds between questions, and I will tell you after. I'll move over to the questions, and I will show you the answers so you can choose the answers, and after that, we will analyze together. Okay? So let's get started.
Listening to viewpoints.
Fracking, technically referred to as hydraulic fracturing, is a technique for extracting fossil fuels from rock that is buried deep in the earth. First, a large well is drilled near a source of gas or oil. Then, a mixture of water, sand, and chemicals is pumped into the well. This creates breaks in the rock where the fuel is located. The enclosed fuel is released, recovered, processed, and sold. Fracking is primarily used to recover natural gas. While the technique has been around since the 1940s, governments used to think fracking was too expensive. Building roads, digging wells, transporting materials, and disposing of chemicals are all costly procedures. Fracking has become a booming industry in the US in recent years because the fossil fuels that are easy to access have been used up. Fracking is controversial because of the environmental hazards. Firstly, fracking uses a lot of water. One well requires up to 5 million gallons of water. In addition, chemicals used in fracking pose a risk to air and groundwater. Nobody knows for sure what the long-term effects of these chemicals will be to humans. Traffic from tanker trucks also reduces air quality, and this is one of the primary concerns of environmentalists. Many environmentalists think fracking ought to be banned worldwide. Fractivists want governments to focus on developing long-term energy solutions. Clean, renewable energy solutions include wind, water, and solar energy. But not everyone is opposed to the technique. Thanks to fracking, Americans are getting used to cheaper energy rates. Some studies suggest that there is enough recoverable natural gas to power America for the next 100 years.
Okay, then, let's get to the questions. Here we go, everyone. So, again, we have 4 minutes, but I'm going to be giving you 40 seconds for each question, okay? And here we go. I'm going to zoom in. So, question 1. Okay, and now question 2. Okay, now question 3. Okay, now question 4. Okay, now question 5. Okay, now question 6. Okay then, everyone. Let's get to reviewing the answers, okay? That was a very interesting lecture about fracking, which was a kind of oil production method or extraction, okay? That's something like that is what I heard. Let's read question 1. Fracking is considered controversial, or there's some people that agree or disagree with it. Why is it considered, or we think about it being controversial? Why is that? Since its process consumes more natural resources, its transportation requires more energy than it produces, its production leaks an excess of chemicals into energy, its carbon footprint exceeds that of other fossil fuels. Okay, well, let's remember I have the script here. Fracking, technically referred to as hydraulic fracturing, is a technique for extracting fossil fuels from rock that is buried deep in the earth. First, a large well is drilled near a source of gas or oil. Then a mixture of water, sand, and chemicals is pumped into the well. This creates breaks in the rock where the fuel is located. The enclosed fuel is released, recovered, processed, and sold. Fracking is primarily used to recover natural gas. Okay, gas, not oil. While the technique has been around since the 1940s, governments used to think fracking was too expensive. One well requires up to 5 million gallons of water. In addition, chemicals used in fracking pose a risk to air and groundwater. Nobody knows for sure what the long-term effects of these chemicals will be to humans. Traffic from tanker trucks also reduces air quality, and this is one of the primary concerns of environmentalists. Okay. Well, I did. Okay. So not B, because not requires more energy. The transportation requires more energy. No. Leaks an excess of chemicals into it, not into energy. And it doesn't say there about it exceeds more than fossil fuels. So the answer should be A, because it said it uses a lot of water in its production, okay? What about number 2? Fracking involves the extraction of fossil fuels from rock mixtures, removing fossil fuels from within rock deposits, recovering natural gas from sources of fossil fuels, obtaining fossil fuels through natural processes. So I don't think that it's fossil fuels from rock mixtures. No, it's confusing there. And also not from natural processes over here for D. So removing fossil fuels within rock deposits or recovering natural gas. So it should be, let's read again over here. Extracting fossil fuels from rock that is buried in the earth. So from rock is the key. So it should be B, removing fossil fuels from rock deposits, not natural gas from fossil fuels. No, from rocks. Okay. What has led to fracking's popularity? Why is it popular? The development of more infrastructure to access fracking sites, the reduction in the cost of utilizing fracking techniques, the depletion of other sources of fuel deposits, the demand for more fossil fuels in the US and globally. So Not D, because it's not, didn't say about demand. Actually, it's controversial, right? There's less demand. Also, it didn't say about more infrastructure to access fracking sites. No. So B or C? Did read that. So it's been around for a while. Fracking has become a booming industry in the US in recent years because the fossil fuels that are easy to access have been used up. So other forms of fossil fuels have been depleted, I think was the answer here. C, the depletion, reduced, used up. Okay. 4, what are the long-term effects of fracking chemicals to humans? We did read about that. The carbon footprint will endanger air quality. The release of chemicals into water will be toxic, groundwater. There are an abundance of environmental and health repercussions. The consequences are still shrouded in mystery. Well, now I feel like we heard something about all of these, but I don't think that it's A because of it didn't really say about the carbon footprint or how much carbon it produces or endanger or make bad the air quality. Didn't read that one there. And environmental, maybe health. It didn't really talk about, it did and it didn't, but I'm not sure about abundance. We're going to check that. Let's see what it said. Okay. Environmental hazards. Fracking uses a lot of water. Okay. Those using fracking pose a risk to groundwater. Nobody knows for sure what the long-term effects of these chemicals will be to humans. Okay. So the question was about to humans, and then not about the chemicals will be toxic. It says nobody knows for sure. So the answer should be D. Shrouded in mystery means it's not clear yet. Repercussions means negative consequences, and it didn't say clearly what they are in the future, okay? All right, so D. What do fractivists want governments to focus on? More environmentally friendly methods of fossil fuel extraction. Banning fracking since it causes a danger to the oil production. Energy alternatives which can be renewable and eco-friendly. Renewable energy sources which can make fracking cleaner. So I think not D for sure, because it's not about making fracking cleaner. Fractivists, so environmentalists, but they want fracking banned. So not B also, because it's not a danger to oil production. They just don't want fossil fuel extraction. So A or C? Let's be clear about that one. Let's see. Many environmentalists think fracking ought to be banned worldwide. Fractivists want governments to focus on developing long-term energy solutions. Clean, renewable energy solutions include wind, water, and solar energy. But not everyone is opposed to the technique. Thanks to fracking, Americans are getting used to cheaper energy rates. Some studies suggest there is enough recoverable natural gas to power America for the next 100 years. So, looks like C is the answer. They want renewable, eco-friendly, not methods of fossil fuel extraction, not fossil fuels. They want cleaner, renewable. Those in favor of fracking argue that this technique is plentiful and cost-effective for consumers. We should investigate alternatives after 100 years. Renewable energy sources are unfeasible and costly, energy rates cannot be maintained by renewable alternatives? So it's not D because not about energy rates. Not energy rates can be maintained, okay? And also not B, investigate alternatives after 100 years. And so we just read that sentence. Americans are getting used to cheaper energy rates. Some studies suggest there is enough recoverable natural gas to power America for the next 10 years. So we have enough for 10 years, so it's plentiful. And it's cheaper energy rates. So the answer should be A. This technique is plentiful and cost effective for consumers. Very interesting, everyone. Okay, fossil fuels, fracking, a technique to extract natural gas. Okay, and so looks like we got all the answers. Very good. We got all the answers now, everyone. If you didn't get 6 from 6, it's very important for you to practice. How can we practice? Well, the first thing we can do is we can understand why the answer is the answer and why the answers are not the answers. This is very, very important. Reviewing the answers from our practice samples will be a very good way to do that. We need to understand that. And it's going to be a very good technique for you to improve your comprehension. Okay? Secondly, we should also read the script, right? Here we have the script. Reading the script to understand expression, vocabulary. This is a very good tool for you to understand these kinds of lectures and viewpoints, okay? Very important, okay? And then, everyone, let's not forget about, and also, everyone, let's not forget about our vocabulary, comprehension, and following dialogue exercises. These exercises will really help us improve our vocabulary and comprehensive abilities, okay? And then also don't forget about test practice 2. Test practice 2 will let you listen to this lecture again, and then it will also give you some questions. This is version 2, so different questions for version 2s. It's very good practice to see how much you understand and test your comprehension ability. All right. And lastly, everyone, let's not forget about our CELPIP library. CELPIP library for understanding viewpoints. Well, it has over 60 examples of listening part 6. 60 examples, everyone. If you need to get CLB plus or higher, then I strongly recommend that you subscribe to the CELPIP library and practice. Okay, very good tool for improving your listening. And now with discount code CELPIP79, again, discount code CELPIP79, you can get a 3-month subscription of CELPIP library for only $10.99 Canadian. Wow, that's a really good deal, everyone. And there'll be a link in the description box to the sample lesson and also to CELPIP library. So everyone, don't forget, practice makes perfect.